So, if you're looking on how to do a warp for a double weave, this is the video. And to make adjustments for a single weave, just use one thread, but follow all the other directions. So, here we have sections of our warp, and let's show you how we do it. All right. So, first things first is you actually need someplace where you can set your threads under or beneath your working area, or else you'll constantly have it getting stuck. And you will also need to have someplace where you can reach. So a lot of people hang this on their door. I myself am vertically challenged, so I do not hang it on the door, but a lot of people really like that. Then we're just going to make loops on our thread that we're going to put right here for the first thread. Tighten that up. Make sure it doesn't slip. And put a second loop. Boop. Nice and tight. And then I'm going to get my second color, which is this jade. So I have peacock and jade, and these are a 3-2 cotton. They're quite lovely. And don't need too much of a tail because it's just tying around itself. Boop, boop. Very good. Nice and secure for both. So whenever I'm doing this with two threads, I want to keep my finger in between them. I need to keep the peacock on the bottom and the jade on top. For this particular project, these are the colors I'm using. I probably should have done this video when I was doing the charcoal and the pink, but as I said, I thought I had this video. So, whenever you're making a warp, you're going to have the distance you want to do. We're going 3 yards with my particular warping board. I have half a yard, 1 yard, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3. So I know going here will be 3. You can always use a thread to guide your string, which means you just take a piece of scrap yarn, the length you need, and go through all of these pegs. That's very easy to do. So we're going to start. I'm going to go under, over, under, and pull this thread up. And I've already knocked down one of my cones. Here we go. And go ahead and go around. And we're just going to keep going around all the way. That's the 3 yards. Push, 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 push. We want to keep this down near the bottom. So it's easier just to pass at the top for me. So I just pass at the top, push it down, and pass over. And when we get to this part again, instead of going over, I'm going to go under and then over and cross around. So you can see right here, it's created a little X in the fiber. Why? Because that's our cross. That's where we're going to put our leaf sticks later. We need to have a cross on both. So there's going to be a cross here and here. You can see the little X here and here on both sides. That is our cross for our leaf sticks. Now I'm going to go ahead and push this down so it's all even, because this is what's going to keep our threads even. Now, if you're doing a single warp, you would just use one thread instead of two. That's simple. So, oops, I let my peacock get in front of my jade. Shame on me. Twisted it right here. So, let's push that down. And that creates our cross. This is 2 threads. If I just came up here, that's 1 thread. That's it. And in order to get 2, you need to come all the way back to where you started. So let's do this. We're going to need to do this 12 times for 1 inch. See, keeping that jade on top. So this cross is what's going to keep our threads in order from 1 and 2 the whole way. So they can't cross over each other. They may cross over each other here, but we'll always be able to find which one's right because we can always just come here to the cross and grab the correct one. So if I stopped right here and I tied off, I would have 5 threads. But since it's a double weave, I technically have to. But we're going to do 12 passes because each inch for this pattern is going to be 12 passes. So, yes, technically we'll have 2 inches of fiber here, but that's for 2 separate layers. So each layer will have 1 inch. And the great thing about your cross is you can always count how many threads you have here simply by lifting. There's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Let me get you a closer look real. So here, yeah, you can see right there. There's 1, 2. If I lift right here, I just get 2 at a shot. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So if I do one more circuit, that's going to give me a full inch. Let's check back in just a second. So right here, we're going to quickly just kind of say, how you're not going to miss something is look, I missed something. And look what happened. Boop, boop, boop. That thread's not crossing with the X like it should be. So very quickly, what happens when you miss your section? Right there. You see how it creates that where it doesn't line up with the X? That's very simple. I just go ahead and make sure my peacock stays on the bottom. And I just move it over and keep going. Now, this will happen anywhere because if I skip over this peg, it doesn't line up. So you are always going to catch those little slip ups that do happen. It's not a big problem. And also, if you mess up with the X and say follow along the same path, you can see it pretty easy. So, like if I follow the same path here, when I look again, I'm gonna see it's really thick. That's not how it should look. And when I come to go across again, I'm gonna see, oh wait, I'm going in the exact same area. That's not right. So I just pull this off and you're gonna see that and you just cross right over. And it fixes that problem very quickly and it's not gonna be an issue. So right now we have 12 threads. And what I like to do in order to make sure I get a full inch, I'm just gonna wrap this so it stays nice and stable. I'm going to take some scrap yarn that I have, just of a contrasting color so it's easy to see. I try not to use scrap yarn that's the same color as my warp. I'm gonna just cut off a little bit. I don't need very much. Um, take this and I'm going to do it at my cross. Some people like to do it at the end of the warp, and that's fine. Sometimes I do that because if I have it over here, I don't actually have to take them off. But I'm just going to do it at my cross because I actually think it's a little bit easier, even though I have to take them off. It's just makes it easier for counting, makes it easier for everything for me. I enjoy it more. Gonna wrap this around. So I just tucked under and over one. So I just tie under and over, do a quick little knot, and then I will knot it again. Some people like to do bunny ears here, but I'll just trim these. And because I'm not really afraid of cutting my work because it is such a contrasting color. It'll be very easy for me to see. Now I'm going to keep going in the same way that I have been 4 more inches or 4 inches. So that's a little over 3 more inches. Sorry. And we're just going to keep doing this. Another question you might ask is what if I wanted to change colors for the threads in general? You can either just cut it and tie it off and start on with the next color, or just tie on with the current color. If you're going to have small color gaps, say you're going to do something like houndstooth or anything that's not going to have a large color gap, I'd say less than an inch, just tie on the other color and continue working. So if you're cutting this one for a while, say over an inch or even a greater distance of say 2 inches or even just till the end of your project, I would actually before I would even tie on the other string, I would just cut this one and, or sorry, cut the one you're using and then tie the next color to it and continue going. So you can change the color at any point with that method, changing on the ends, particularly the front or the back, keeping those in line. So, and with those, you're just going to tie them in an overhand knot that is plenty secure, but you would just take your threads, hold them together like this, do a quick loop, tuck in, and then pull. Now, since these would be cut, this would not have a loop, and that would be it. That knot is going to be secure enough. I don't want to do that right now, so I'm going to pull that apart. But that is a secure enough knot to hold your warp. So let's keep going, and we'll check back in a little bit. We're going to keep doing exactly what I'm doing, and at the end, I'll show you how you tie it up before you take it off. All right, so now we are going to tie on in different areas so that we can keep our warp secure. Because when a warp is under tension, it is under control. So I'm going to reach in under here, tuck this little piece of string in, and pull it up through the other side. So I've just pushed this thread through, and I'm going to pull it tight. I've wrapped it around and through on both sides. And whenever you're doing a warp, as you can see, I've gone pretty high up on these sides right here. There's only just a little tiny bit of space left. You don't want to try to go too far past because then you won't really be able to make sure your warp is secure and it won't fall off and lose tension. So you need to be able to keep your warp under control. So at a certain point, just, stop like I did. And then at that point, start again. So I will do another section of these two colors at the exact same amount of threads. So I'm going to tie on over here where we started. And now I'm going to also tie on up here. Loop it through just because it makes it easier for me to cinch it nice and tight. And then wrap around and tie. And then, so when I do this, I don't want to have this huge slack center. So I'm going to pull all these a little bit closer to the edge so it's easier to pull off and it's a little bit even. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to count. So this is half, 1, 1.5. This is kind of center. So I'll have 1.5 yards on both ends. I'm going to take this thread and I'm going to tie the center of the warp. That way I can keep everything kind of together and under a nice even tension. I'm going to do it close to this little spot so I know it's pretty even. It doesn't need to be perfect, but just try to keep it close.
There we go, nice and tied. Now you just start pulling off your warp. And as you do, you just want to crochet it. So you stick your hand through, grab, pull, grab, pull, grab, pull, grab, pull, and just keep doing this. Like your hand's the hook, the thread is what you're crocheting. And this will keep your warp under a fair amount of tension. It'll keep it from getting tangled or messed up like this. And now I've reached the end. And at this point, I can just hang it up like this from both ends. And whenever I'm ready to undo the crochet, I just pull it apart, grab this end, and tug, and it'll all fall apart. But until then, I could just hang both ends of the fabric up, and it will hold just fine. And I'm not going to lose my spot because I have my cross and all my little cross points already tied in. So that is how you set up the warp for double weave. And again, to do it for single weave, you just use one thread instead of two, but everything else remains the same. So if you're wondering what I do with this whole warp as I'm tying it all together, is I actually have all of it on a stick and I just slide the next color on. And I'm going to do one more of these two colors, but I currently have the other sections here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections currently. There will be 6, and it will have 6 colors also. So you have the pink and gray, the purple and green, and then the 2 blues. So I'm really looking forward to this project and getting this entire warp done.